Goodbye, Fred.
Okay, thanks, bro.
Okay, we're going to officially, do we have a quorum? Okay, it's official. We're going to start the meeting. 41. Okay, we've got a couple more walking in. We'll wait till they sit down. Okay, thanks for coming. That's a nice crowd. Thank you for coming. We can get stuff going here. The President's report was the biggest thing in the village were the shots, the vaccines. Stanley will talk about that. But everybody got their second shot, which is good. And now what we're working on is the other ones, under 65. Stanley will talk about that. Okay, Lynn, you want to go? I don't have anything here about the minutes. So we should do the minutes before the Treasurer's report. Okay, ready with the minutes?
The previous meeting took place after the Cobrua report already went to press. Therefore, it does not appear in the Cobrua report. Consequently, the delegate approval of last month's minutes will be waived this month and will be taken up next month. Thank you.
Okay, Treasurer's report. Lynn,
Okay.
you give that, please.
Good morning. Our month-ending balance in the checking account is $14,900. Our CD is $52,606 for a total of $67,506. Last month's balance was $73,722. We received the interest on our CD of $585. Any questions?
Okay. All right. Now we're going to go. We're having an election, and they had a meeting this morning. From what I understand, they have a chairman. So we'll hear from the election committee before we go to security today.
Good morning, delegates. My name is Fred Hadley, and I'm the chair of the election committee. We will be taking nominations from the floor.
Hold on 1 minute. The gentleman is refusing to put a mask on.
And he's got to get out. Then he's got to leave.
He went like that because he forgot it.
Okay. All right, Fred. Go.
We will be taking nominations from the floor for the M&O committee. In order to be eligible to run for a position as an M&O committee member, a candidate at the time of the election must be 1, a permanent resident of Century Village West who is a unit owner of record. A permanent resident is defined as a person who has resided at Century Village West for at least 9 months in the previous calendar year. And 2, either a member of the executive board or a director of a constituent member condominium association of Cobrua. The following candidates have already filed their declaration of intent to run for M&O committee. In alphabetical order: Dave Fisher, Dave Merzon, Lynn Roberts, and Stanley Siegel. We will now take nominations from the floor. We have opened the nominations. Are there anybody that wish to either self-nominate or nominate a qualified candidate for one of 3 M&O positions? Any nominees? Going once? Going twice? I'll accept a motion from the delegate to close nominations. Do we have a motion from the floor?
We don't need a motion.
And a second?
Fred, you want to give their names, please?
Yes. Who moved to close nominations? State your name.
Liam Odell, exited David.
I can't hear. Did you guys hear
Liam
that?
Odell, exited David. We need a delegate. I am a
Yeah,
delegate.
we need a delegate just to say, I move to close nominations. All right. Do we have a second? Okay. Name? Harvey. Okay. Nominations are now closed. So the following is the slate for the 3 positions in M&O. Dave Fisher, Dave Merzon, Lynn Roberts, and Stanley Siegel. And there's one more note I have to make. To those 4 candidates, if you wish to put a statement in the Cobrua Reporter, it must be emailed no later than 12 p.m. February 10th, which is tomorrow, correct? Yes. Right. And be no longer than 300 words. Faxes, scans, PDF will not be accepted. If you have a question about the format, call Maggie at 487-0222. At the March meeting, all candidates will be given 2 minutes to speak to the delegates before voting begins. Thank you very much. We have now concluded the nomination process.
Okay, thank you, Fred. Okay, security reports. Steve?
Good morning. Last month in January, we patrolled 4,636 miles. Security was busy at the gate with 3,818 contractors, 3,771 pre-authorized calls, and we took in 3,785 food deliveries, a full 1,400 more than the previous year. One of the things that we were real busy with this month was the vaccination. And we're also busy at the pools. We came and answered 109 calls last month about violations, COVID-19 violations at the pools, either moving chairs, no masks, children, grandchildren, visitors, and guests. And that's probably only half of it. I know on a daily basis we're receiving at least half a dozen calls. So please let all the people in your building know that there are no guests allowed, there are no children allowed, and to please do not move the chairs. That's it. Oh, one more piece of information. The crime report for the last month, I know I didn't have that because the system was down, but we had 7 instances this last month. 2 were at the same address for vandalism. We had a auto that was stolen, but was recovered in the village, and security assisted PBSO in identifying the individual. There was 3 embezzlements and 2 larcenies at the same address. Questions?
Yeah, I have a question. Gail Levine from Lincoln. Somebody just walked in without a mask, and he got yelled at for not having a mask. How come the security in the front let him in?
I'll look at the camera and see if he came in the door with the mask on. Or
I tend to doubt he'd walk in the door and take it off. I'm sorry?
Well, at this point, we assume it's in his car or his house.
But, yeah.
He did walk in the building without.
Well, I will check the video and we'll talk to that.
Yeah,
guard.
please.
I mean,
That
all
was
day
just-
long,
I
I'm
mean-
chasing people around all day long for taking their mask out.
Yeah, well,
It's
nobody
pool
wants to
table
wear a
room.
mask.
I
Nobody
know,
wants to wear
no
a
one
mask,
wants to
but
wear
you
a mask,
walk
but
into this
everybody has
building
to. So
without a mask, good to know.
Okay.
we will do our best.
On that same subject with regard to wearing masks, if you could re-instruct your security personnel dealing with the ordinance, where our bathrooms are used fairly frequently by security personnel because of the convenience with regard to parking. Numerous times they're coming into the pool area, not even wearing a mask out of here, not having a mask at all. So we just remind them if they're out of the car and they're on the road or coming into one of the pool areas, let them wear a mask.
Agreed. Please, anything that you want to report with any of the guards doing anything that you feel is not correct, call the clubhouse and ask for the Director of Security's office. It will come to my phone. I will return your call.
It's just, you know, as you said,
Understood.
nobody's comfortable with the mask, so I understand it.
No, they have to wear it, just like we're wearing it now. Everybody has to wear the mask, period.
Larry Krakow, Exhibit C. What's the procedure if you're driving your car and there's a patrol car from inside the village with flashing lights behind you? Are you supposed to pull over or just keep going? Sure. If you're driving in the village and there's a patrol car behind you with the flashing lights on, are we supposed to pull over or just keep going?
No, the lights are on top of the car so that it's visible, so people know it's security, and that the car is visible and driving around.
That's what I thought. Thank you.
See, there's a gentleman back there waving his arm.
Yes, sir.
My name is Steve Getzo, Mansfield H.
Yes, sir.
I want to know what it calls when people through the gates without stickers on their car windows. I came in the other day in the South Gate. There was a wooden framing with no sticker on the window, and the car wasn't in.
Were you in the car with her? Where were you standing? I mean,
I was right behind the car.
so you were behind her in your car?
Yes.
And she was in which lane?
She was in the car in front of me.
In the resident lane?
I followed her. She had no sticker on her window.
If you can tell me the time, I can look on the video. It is possible that they rolled down the window and they showed their license. You don't have.
You know what? I came to your office that day and left a message. If you didn't get it, screw you guys suck.
Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Come on.
Steve?
Yes, Fred.
Fred Hadley, Cornwall E.
Yes, sir.
We had an incident at the Cornwall Satellite Pool on Friday. I'm not exactly sure what the facts are, and I just want to call the situation to your attention and ask you to clarify security policy. What happened is one of our residents saw someone who he did not think was a resident, meaning a guest, and they had a young child or children in their company, which obviously is a no-no. He called the security and asked for a rover to respond, which they did. Now, what happened next is not really certain, and I'm not pointing any fingers at anybody on the security. But at some point, let's say the perpetrator, the woman who brought the guest in, found out that so-and-so made the call to security and started to curse that individual out and make a big scene at the pool. Now again, I'm not saying that security was wrong or did anything that they shouldn't have done, because I'm not quite sure what happened. But I want to ask you, if a person calls security and complains, let's say, about a COVID violation at the pool, are the guards supposed to maintain confidentiality, or are they supposed to go over and say, he's the guy that complained about you? And again, I'm not saying that's what happened. I just want to know, going forward, what is the policy? Do you protect the complainant's identity?
Yes, we do not go to, if we're responding to a report, we'll receive it, and somebody might say, I'm so-and-so, or I might be a director, I might be a president, or I'm a resident of Cornwall and I want to report something. Well, we get their name and number, and then we send the rover out. Now, the rover goes to the pool and doesn't necessarily know who this person is. They go to the pool looking for the violation, and when we speak to the person who's violating, we take responsibility and say, sir, these are the rules, or ma'am, these are the rules, there's no guests allowed. We don't go and say, so-and-so told us to go. There's no need to do that. We have the authority to enforce the rules, and that's what we do. I don't need to use anybody else as a crutch. Our officers are instructed not to give out any names of who called. That is confidential.
All right, just following up on that, is it a requirement that one identify oneself? I know when I've called the sheriff's office, they say, do you want to give your name? And I say, listen, I live in a condo, this person's a neighbor, I would really rather remain anonymous. And they say, no problem at all, and they respond. What is the policy of the security if a person says, I don't want to give my name?
Then we're not going to respond to the call for officer safety. If I'm sending somebody out to go somewhere, we need to know who called in case something happens to them. Previously, security's been used as a tool by other residents to harass other residents as well. So to eliminate that possibility, and eliminate the possibility of crank calls, we ask for the name and number of the person who made the complaint.
Okay, thank you very much, Steve.
Okay, we're going to go to Community Affairs and then M&O Stanley.
Good morning, everyone. First, let me make some personal remarks. I've been in the village for well over 20 years. I've been associated with my association, with Cobrua, and with the M&O committee. The most rewarding and gratifying experience I've had in all those years just happened in the last month or so. This was when we administered vaccine phase 1 and 2. It went off very smoothly, and I must thank Judy for planning the operation, for Mike, myself, and Sherry for helping out, and above all, I must thank the over 3,200 residents that cooperated and made life very easy for us. So I'd like to thank all of you. Just to recap what happened, phase 1 was under the administration of Palm Beach County. It worked very smoothly. We had 8 nurses. We had about 3 registration people, and very, very few hitches. The only problem we had was the people who panicked on the first and second day and got up 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. And I know I told a number of people don't show up those days, and lo and behold, they were there the first day. The second phase was under the control of the Broward Department of Health. We now had 12 nurses and 8 registration clerks. And from your experience, you know it went very well and very fast and very few hitches. The next phase is how are we going to handle homebound people? And this is what we're waiting for. Instructions from the state and the county on how to administer that person. The people under 65, we're trying our best to see what we can do, but right now, according to the governor, you have first responders, doctors and nurses, and nursing homes that are on top priority. And the under 65s are the low people on the totem pole. But we are trying, and I'm going to bust Mike's chops to make telephone calls to see what we can do. Otherwise, I'll only repeat myself. It worked well. Any questions?
Okay, I want to say one thing about under 65. Stanley hit it on the head. The people that I'm on the phone with quite often are telling me that we gave it to 65 and over, but there's priorities before us. And they name them, first responders, People like, even they're talking about garbage men and people like that. They're very important to the community. And they're touching your waste, and they should deserve shots. It's not going to be easy. They're not predicting a date, but it's not in the immediate future. And I have to tell you that Stanley's right. Of all the people that came to get the shots, everyone was great. There were a couple exceptions, but there's exceptions.
Let me just say there were 3 exceptions. But 3 out of 3,200 is not too bad.
Right. That was, the people were very understanding, and I have to tell you, Commissioner Sachs did some job. I mean, I spoke to her, and we had a couple conversations, and she listened to me, and we got them very quickly, and she deserves a lot of credit. But the credit goes to Judy and Stanley, and the security staff, and
Don't forget Sherry.
Yeah, Sherry, but Glow. Everyone forgets Glow. I was amazed. People would sit in the chair, and the people who, some of you came, I recognize some of you. You would sit in the tables here, and you would get up, and by the time you got to the desk to sign in, the table was clean. So I said, how do you know this? They said, we have it timed. It's a true story. They said, we have it down to a science. And that we know that when the crowd comes in that's sitting out there, we have so many minutes to clean the tables. And I have to thank security, and I have to thank Glow too. Okay, Stan.
Okay, any other questions regarding community? All right, I'm going to give the M&O report.
There's a microphone in the back.
About the community, who is responsible for the electrical wiring and conductors outside in the streets of Century Village? Because I got a letter here from maybe people who received it, messing out, telling us we have to start paying for all repairs of the electrical wiring.
Do you have a garbage can in your house? That's where I would file it. No, it's coming from a contractor that works for FP&L, and they're just sending it out, so dump it. Okay, I'm going to go on to management and operations, M&O. Our last meeting was held January 20th. Present were Judy, Vice President West and Site Administrator, Monica Wells, Chief Financial Officer, Abby Koffler, Entertainment, and Dan Cruz, Regional Facilities. The entire committee was present. Here are some of the highlights. We're going tomorrow to see the architect's version of the restoration of the theater, which includes the ceiling. So hopefully we'll have some better information by tomorrow, but it looks pretty promising, and it should be very comfortable for everyone. On the south side, which was torn up, we now have, this is where, opposite of the firehouse area, we've now planted hedges, so that area is being covered. There'll be 2 new bus stops on Century Village Boulevard. Theater, Abby has told us that there are opera and ballet shows available. She will post it on her website, and also Channel 63 should have some information on that. The 2 new routes that replace Palm Trans 91 seem to be working very well. So far, no complaints, which is unusual. There was a complaint about broken windows, which were really happened on the Academy buses, and they were repaired. Collections for October, $54,721. The Rules Committee will be reviewing regulations for using boats on the lake. At our next meeting, hopefully, we'll have a report and resolve what has to be done. Hopefully things will improve so that we can get back to a normal lifestyle. In the meantime, stay safe and be well. Thank you. Any questions?
play the shows on Channel 63 on Saturday night instead of having to use the computer.
No, you can't do it.
Thank you.
And anything else for Stanley? Okay, do we have anything under old business? Anything under new business? Good welfare from the delegates. Good welfare from the people who are not delegates. A motion to adjourn. We have a motion to adjourn? Tell us who you are, please, even though we know you. Alan, don't yell at me. Alan always says to me, who are they, Mike? So, go ahead, Alan. Get a motion. We got a motion. We need a motion and a second to adjourn. We got a gentleman on a motion there. Okay. Just yell at us and tell us who you are. Okay. Got a second? All in favor? Thank you very much. Great meeting. Thank you for coming. I appreciate it.